Bird in the cloud.
All right, Terry. Now you can begin.
So
We're not balanced.
we're not completely balanced because we're down to $1,500 and I was going through back vouchers and we saw one that's not posted. So it's a tax billing voucher. And it doesn't have marked what it is, so don't post it yet. I need to go figure out why. But that's how I check, is I check everything. And they didn't finish posting stuff until Friday night, so we're kind of rough, but everything is in good shape. All the A1s balance, all the cash, the treasurer's checks balance, all the transfers balance,
For the
the
month,
cash balances. This is
for the
June.
month of July.
This is
For-
June.
Oh,
Don't get me in trouble yet.
Oh,
This
I'm
is
sorry.
June.
I'm sorry, yes.
Taxes balance, so everything is basically balanced. The treasurer's checks balance.
How much we are?
$1,594. But. Well. The other number is, I have it.
The
suspended.
30,000 to 40.
22,730.
Oh, you're putting it down.
It's getting it down. Don't add any more to it. So that right now is in suspense. So this month is actually $1,594. So, but we have a voucher that's not
But
posted.
this
which I
is
gotta fix.
Testing your new system,
Yeah, well, yeah.
so you can find out if you have any holes.
But from now on, I think I'm just gonna close the door at balancing and tell everybody I'm not there so that I can just focus. But anyway, be that as it may. I did, so I will get you a corrected reports by next week. So-
Shouldn't be that hard.
It's everything, okay, that's what I just said. Everything balances,
Shouldn't be that hard.
everything balances. So it's just something, I don't know what's happening here. So we have a few things to clean up with HSAs that our money is not fixed, so I think it's a bank issue that I think that Francis asked the bank to post it, but they took it out of the wrong account, so I gotta work on that with Rhonda, so that's good. I'll tell you that in a second. So what I did do though, was able to do, is that we're at a 2% delinquency ratio as of June 30th. So you
pretty
can
good.
have that. So we billed $23,765,961 in 2023 for taxes. And we are delinquent
Where do-
$444,000.
Where do I find that at?
Well, I wrote it on there, but
Oh,
I can send it to you if you like. I just wrote it.
oh, it's not on this, okay.
I wrote it right on across the
I
bottom,
see
bill
that.
23 million. So 444,000 is what we're delinquent. Now you want to remember that probably 50% of that number is tunnels. So really, 2% delinquent, considering that we have tunnels in the middle of that, I don't think is the worst. I think it's actually pretty good. You can see that we got a small thing with the mobile homes is $20,000. Personal property tax is only 4,200. That's usually your cattle and whatnot. So it's, utilities and then cattle is the personal property, $745. So real estate, we got 418,000 delinquent.
Now, what is other
Other is utilities,
utilities?
What do you call them? Verizons and all those
So-
places. So,
Hmm.
and we do
That-
have
It's
a,
not considered real property.
no, it's other.
Okay.
Centrally assessed. And we do have bills that we just sent out for a utility company whose name just flew right out of my head, T-Mobile. That are not due till the end of July because they had AB 26 adjustments. So that'll come back shortly. That'll fix that number, I'm sure. So that's a good thing. I think our billing and our tax collection is actually good.
So we're only 2% delinquent on it.
It's just under 2%. It's like 1.9, whatever. So I just wrote 2
And that's the total for 23
for 23.
or 24.
23's tax billing cycle. 23's tax billing cycle
24
as of June 30th of
fiscal-
24.
24 fiscal-
You're making me,
fiscal year.
you're making me not keep track.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's easier for us to think in terms of fiscal years and when it's easier for you to think in terms of billing cycles. So,
It's a billing cycle.
Yeah.
So at the end of the fiscal year, we've billed 23,765,000. So as you may not remember, but
That's
in
all,
June,
that's all funds, or
all,
schools and everybody, university,
yes,
state schools, local schools,
Everything.
everybody. Okay.
everybody's in there. So as of June 30th, whether or not you remember, and Dan may not even know this, we send out tax lien notices to everybody with a real estate tax that's delinquent. Those went out. So we are getting payments in July for these cycles, right? Because people are like, oh, how come I missed this? And I have to tell you, we sent out 724 letters, 724 letters. And most of them were for really small amounts. Those amounts that were probably supplemental bills, I'm sure, because they're like $21, $7, $40. There are some bigger ones, but there's a lot of little tiny ones. So I think that a lot of folks either just didn't understand what the supplemental bill was and put it aside. It happens, right? This whole thing has been such a lesson that, and yours is fixed, by the way. Yours is fixed.
Yes, thank you.
Because I just got it from the bank this morning. So, the bank made an error on one of Corey's. So we got that fixed. So I think all things considered, we're in pretty good shape. So next month, we will bring you the mobile home delinquency list for charge off, because you can see mobile homes are delinquent $20,000. And a lot of those have to do with, you know, delinquencies that are over 5 years old that are just sitting there. I did talk to Jerry yesterday about doing writs again. You know, when I first came, he's like, didn't want to. He's really not a fan. And I get it, because, you know, what do we do with the mobile homes if we do repossess them?
You pay to get rid of them. You pay.
It's a, what's that word? Conundrum. It's catch-22. So we'll talk about that more next month. So I have 2 individuals that'll be going up to the Department of Justice in August. They'll spend part of the day doing CARS training, you know, the new motor vehicle system. So 2 out of, so it'd be Tuesday and Christine will be going. Maggie's already had that experience, and of course, Chris is knee deep in it. We have no response from the court on tunnels bankruptcy, not a thing. And that's just weird. We should have had something by now.
I was gonna try to reach out to Dan Walsh and see if they've heard anything.
I've been talking to his, I don't know what he is. He's a young person named Theo. Talked to him last week and he had not heard anything. He's like he's in Dan's office.
I don't know who I talked to who said they didn't think it had gone that well for us.
That's what I understand.
That,
They're more sympathetic to tunnels than.
no, that Patrick had stuck his head back up and ended up sweeping up a bunch of this instead of it getting transferred out to somebody else, but.
Well, they have
Patrick got
not.
himself in the middle of this again.
So here's the deal on that. This is what I wanted to mention to you. So today is July 16th. So as of August 3rd, if I could issue a tax deed to Gold Fund Partners. They haven't requested it. But because they've paid all the taxes, right? For the pit 5056. So if they request it, I will issue a tax deed to that Goldfields Funding Partnership. Those are the people that paid us the $5 million, took the assignment on the pit. If they don't request it, then their opportunity to take the tax deed on those taxes for 2020 is null and void. I mean, you can't ask for it again, but they could actually, the tax deed, the property could transfer to Goldfields Funding on August 3rd.
Did they do their publication?
They did everything, as far as I know. I have not looked in your clerk and recorder recordings to see if they did everything yet, because I just haven't looked. I know certain people will be taking tax deeds, so I have checked on those and printed those from her system to make sure all those lined up. But Goldfield Funding hasn't actually asked for the tax deed yet. Usually there's a form, they say, you know, okay, I've done A, B, C, and D. Do this, and I haven't seen that from them, but that could show up still. And it could be that they recorded it with Ginger without sending it to me, so I do probably need to look.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know, it's called a proof of notice, but, so. We literally could transfer that property to that company, which means that Montana Tunnels won't own it anymore. And so I don't know,
But he is a party in the.
he's the president of that company, but I don't know how, I'm not an attorney, right? I don't know how that works.
All that unraveled.
I don't know how that works. I don't know how, if I'm the president of a company and I buy my own stuff from my other company, what those legalities, does that pull it out of the bankruptcy? Does it, I don't know any of that. And
Good question.
it's a very good question, how that
Is it just a
works.
Little lark, is it, you know? Is it-
So my understanding about that hearing is that the attorney for Tunnels, who's the same attorney for Goldfields Funding, he's out of Billings, I think. He was super sharp and he did a very good job representing Tunnels. And that DEQ's attorney did not fare so well. And they asked me to come down there and I said I would be there. And they asked Steve to come down there and Steve said he would be there. And then they sent me a DEQ, this is DEQ, sent me a message on Friday that I didn't need to worry about it because I had explained everything to them and they could handle it. So Steve sent a message on Monday, are you sure? They said no, so I stayed here. I didn't even get online. So I don't know what was said. I know that DEQ's attorney did not do as well as Tunnel's attorney. Of course, the Tunnel's attorney was probably being paid $1,000 an hour.
Yeah,
There's a difference. You know?
bad time to lose that match. Yeah.
So I don't know what that means for our bankruptcy. I don't know what that does. Maybe, and you know, Steve's not an expert at it, so maybe that is worth a call to Dan Walsh to ask him if he knows how that, what does that do if they no longer own it?
Mhm.
Now, they still have the bad actor status because Ivinson's still got his finger in the other company, so I don't know that they can actually open it. But I don't know. I'm surprised we have not heard anything. So I did have a visit last Friday from a certain individual who's been on everybody about OT mining. And,
Owen?
yes,
Gee, why did I hear about that?
I didn't want to say his name on the recording, but he was here on Friday at 1 o'clock. And, he wanted to pay the tax assignment so that he didn't try to redeem the sheriff's deed, which was recorded yesterday in Ginger's office. He wanted to pay off the tax assignment, and I told him he could not. And then he said, well, this is OT mining. I'm representing OT mining. I am not doing it myself, which we will go down that rabbit hole about how I don't believe that. And I said, OT mining cannot do business in the state of Montana under the Canadian authorities reciprocity thing. And so I will not take your money. I'm not doing it. He said a few other things. He wrote down what I said, told me that he was writing down what I said, and I said, that's fine. I'm okay. I was calm. What was really interesting is he left. He did leave. What was interesting is the USDA people who I spoke to, I had a meeting with at 1 o'clock, but I was with the other guy at 1, were standing right behind him. And they came in and said, I don't know what happened there, but you did a nice job without getting mad. I was mad.
Mhm.
I was shaking inside, but I did call Steve. I know he was flying somewhere. I called him, left a message on his phone, told him what happened. I got a text message probably in between flights. Did a good job. You're fine. Don't worry. We're all good. And then I've talked to Steve since. He really feels strongly that we did the right thing. So I don't know what's going to happen. We have 2 weeks left before we issue that tax deed to Briar Herrick. So it's it's just one chunk left. Out of all the stuff that between the sheriff's deeds and the previous tax titles and the stuff she actually bought, there's only one chunk left. Even though my tax assignment covers lots more, some of them have already been sold and some of them already, it's a mess. So I have to ask how to do the tax deed. I think I just have to issue by law the tax deed on everything the assignment was on. And then we'll have to figure out how to correct all those deeds at some point. I don't know how that works.
Briar's having it all resurveyed, which saves us.
She did, she gave me all of her surveys, but I don't know, because when I did yesterday a quick peruse for Jerry, because Jerry was coming over here with that deed, I wrote on my piece of paper of the exhibit A that he recorded with you, and I wrote, well, 870, these are the numbers where these parcels are, but some of them have already been sold and some of them are, it's kind of a mess. So there's like all these deeds that are being recorded that are overlapping each other. Does that make sense? It's like lot A is on this deed and lot A is also on this deed, and I'm gonna issue another one on lot A on August
You
3rd.
sold it to Briar sold it to someone else.
No, somebody, so some of it's sheriff deeded, and some of it, the guy that had the investment in the property sold the pieces that weren't sold at sheriff's deed to her directly. And then we have this tax assignment that has everything else.
The
It's,
problem is that up there was part of the town site. It was a addition to the town site. And as OT Mining acquired it, they got this piece over here. 2 years later, they got this piece over here. So they ended up with all these different tax IDs, and different, chain of titles. And so it got jumbled. Like last year in the tax deed, it was, what Montana Cadastral has, what Department of Revenue has, like they have 2 block 17s. Like if you look at Cadastral, they have block 17 here, and then they also have block.
it's not
17.
pretty.
So, but.
How do you fix it?
Well,
if it's
Briar did
all-
a survey, so,
If it's all owned by one person, and she resurveys it all and aggregates it, the next step, I believe, is to make sure that the streets and alleys were abandoned. They have been deeded over the years with the lots and blocks, like this street, this abandoned street, and this abandoned alley. That's the next step, which I haven't dug into.
yeah, it's
Because-
gonna take hours. It's
Because I
gonna
didn't
take
know what was
hours.
gonna happen with O2 Mining with this envoy stirring things up. But that's the next step, is to make sure those were really abandoned, and if not, probably abandon them.
Yeah.
And then Briar's survey will clean all of it up.
Yeah, it's, it's a mess. So my belief is that because the assignment was taken on all of these, is that my tax deed needs to match what all of her assignment documents is, even though parts of that have actually already hers. So we have multiple deeds with multiple properties on them, and it's gonna be a little bit of work, but
Why?
it's gonna be some work. And then the dump site, the Jefferson County dump site's in the middle of that too, which never got transferred from OT Mining to Jefferson County. So there's some of that. In the survey that she gave me, actually pulled the dump site out, and it highlights where it's at. So that first survey, and I have all those copies, that first survey that she gave me is actually pretty clean. But you're right, the alleys and the whatnot are still on there. But anyway, it's a little bit of a mess, and it's gonna take a little bit of time, but I will tell you this, and Corey knows this already. Briar is extremely grateful to the county for all the work and support that she's had going through this. On her program Sunday night, she even wrote thanks to Terry Coons, spelled wrong. Because Jerry Goodwin made a joke about it. Well, it isn't really you. Anyway, at the county for helping her. And it wasn't about that I helped her any more than anybody else. It was that we
Yes, you-
spent hours
You've
offline
been very helpful.
counseling, doing, you gotta do these steps and stuff. So, but Ginger also, and Jerry Goodwin has been extremely helpful. I mean, he was down there inventorying, and that place, if you should take a ride down there if you have some time. Corey saw it because he was there Sunday night. You should take a ride down there. If you spend any time in that warehouse and saw what it looked like before and what it looks like today, that woman has put her back into it. It's amazing the difference, and it's not done. It's
It's
amazing.
wonderful, yeah.
All the core samples that were in that warehouse that were stacked up to the hilt are gone because the gentleman out in New York donated all those to the museum, the mining museum in Butte at
I thought they
Montana
were
Tech.
some value.
They were. And he donated them all to Montana Tech, told them to come get them, and they got them.
That's cool.
I mean, there's a lot, those core samples, there was a ton of them in there, stacked in boxes up to the ceiling, and anyway, those are all gone.
WT mining,
OT.
or
OT,
OT mining. I always
Yeah.
come up with WT,
that's a catchy name.
chewing tobacco.
Is it? I don't know.
It's a plug, I think.
Okay, so we'll go on with this. So the mobile home delinquent list, we're gonna have that next month. I have seriously, 2 months worth of vacations coming up with everybody in my office. Maggie has a month apparently. So, it's gonna be a little stressful around there. But be that as may, the stress doesn't never ends, right?
She goes with the department.
We have a little problem going with, there's a mobile home park down there, not Casalda's, but it's,
Davis?
Valley, or
Davis.
Where-
I don't know what she calls it, what the mobile home park
used to
name.
be Hidden Valley.
She would like us to waive all kinds of taxes and stuff, and yesterday we had a little, I'm not doing it. Especially this last one, the mobile home, the people moved out 2 weeks ago, and she wants me, I'm not doing it. Those people live there. If you bought it from them, that is your responsibility to make sure that they paid those before they left. Now, if DOR showed me a picture and nobody's lived in it, and it was falling apart, and the rear end was, I worked out some of those deals, but just in case she calls you, those things have been lived in. I don't care what you do. The taxes need to be paid. Period.
Right.
So a guy called yesterday afternoon, right before we left it, but right before the team left at 5 o'clock. And he was the one that was receiving this one mobile home, and he gave us his credit card and paid him. So she didn't pay him, the guy that's getting it. So I'm just saying that if she calls you, it's not because I'm not nice, right? Don't say any stories there, Mr. Mullen. It's because people live there and it's their responsibility, and I don't think the county should have to suck that up. So
Especially if Lori paid for them. I don't know if she paid for them.
she bought the whole park and she took them. And she said the guy abandoned it. Well, he just moved out 2 weeks ago. Jerry Goodwin said he just knocked on the door and said, hey, if you're leaving, what are you gonna do with this? Because she called him, and so, yeah, she just makes a fuss. Okay, I won't go any further, but that's it. Is that it? Is that all on my list? If you'd like to learn about cars, we'll send you up north.
Jefferson City Fire.
Oh, the lease. That was the other thing I was gonna tell you.
How much-
Is the board at Jefferson City will meet next week. I'm gonna be in Seattle on Tuesday through Friday, but I'm gonna meet with them on the phone. I did have a chat with Mike Myers. Mike says he doesn't really care as long as the term of the lease, as long as we put a clause to exit out. He said, we can't afford to go buy a new site anyway.
Right.
So he said, so he didn't care how long. He did offer, which is something I'm gonna tell the board, that if he's snow plowing up there at the dump site, he'll just run the plow down and plow out where the trucks come out of the garage. He'll clean that up for him as a gift, he said, but he's not gonna make a promise to do that, but we should write it in the thing, that
Yeah.
optional snow agreement. My husband currently goes down there and plows that out when they have something going, but if they could help, if Myers is willing to
I got a little
help, I think
pickup
it'd be
with the
great.
plow. Yeah.
Yeah, he says, I would, I'm up there, I'll just come through. So that's the thing. Getting the septic tank cleaned out once a year is really not that big of a deal, Myers said. So I think we can make the agreement work easily enough. We just need Steve so I'll get from them what they want, and then I will tell Steve, and then I think we just need to clean up that lease agreement. The one, Ginger sent me a copy. we'll just clean it up to make it new and fresh, new year.
Yeah, I don't think that lease was authored by Steve because it's 20 years old.
Right.
Probably
so
not.
He'll have to redraft it anyways, so.
Yeah, so, yeah, I think it's fairly easy. I don't think it's
Okay.
gonna be a huge deal.
Very good.
Okay,
Thanks for,
is that the last thing I think?
I think
Can't
so.
remember everything in it.
Thank
Mr.
you,
Mullen,
Terry.
we got a light cover